And then the selectmen open theirs and,
Our meeting's open at 6 o'clock.
okay. So we're here tonight to go through and try and do a work session on the budget and make it, we're still working as transparent as possible and seeing how we can make things work for this next year. It's gonna be a challenge. And all this is tonight is discussion. There's no decisions being made or on anything. So, Teresa, do you wanna?
Sure. So in your packets, there's just a brief memo that describes the data that is used, compiled together, that creates the budget ceiling. And basically what that means is that it lets you know where you're at as far as the levy limit, and all of that data compiled into the spreadsheet that you have will give you guidance as to the process for the budget for fiscal 2027. I think it's really important that we have to, we keep it open, that, nothing's off the table when it comes to determining the budget process. But I think that as we go through and understand the numbers, budget ceiling, we can see already that without even going through the gate, we're already almost 600,000 to the deficit. So it's going to be a tough budget season, which I don't think is anything new, except that it seems to be getting worse. And each year the town has used free cash. Last year, the amount of free cash used was huge, and it is using your one-time revenues. I know that advisory has spoken about this year after year after year. It's really poor practice to do so. And so I don't know that we completely get away with not using free cash. We have to, basically what we need to do is land on a process of how you want to proceed so that I can instruct the department on how to prepare their budgets. And so we just wanted to start this off by kind of going over the data, how that data was compiled, and then enter into discussion with ideas in that on how you may want to consider moving forward. In addition, I provided a schedule for the budget process. It's open to change if you look at some of those timeframes and you have different ideas. I'm totally open to that. I know that Lori had mentioned it would be important to have a schedule. So I went forward and created a preliminary, and John and I walked through it today. So.
Okay.
Do you have an extra copy of the calendar?
Oh, of course.
Thanks, appreciate that.
So I guess that Teresa's put together this memo on required data and inputs. I just want to make sure everybody at the table understands where we're coming from. So you have your prior year levy limits, your new your 2.5 allowable levy growth, the new growth estimate, the debt and capital exclusion schedules with the ending dates, and the estimated valuation changes of 26. That's how we get our foundation money. Is everybody clear on that? Then you have your revenues and expenditures, which are pretty cut and dried. We got our 26 revenues, state aid, local receipts. They did a 3 to 5 year average on this. Enterprise fund, indirects and offsets, which we can go through and explain. Fixed cost increases, health insurance, which from the looks of it is going to be high this year. Retirement, utilities, and just regular insurance, overlay reserve and adjustments. There's a lot that goes into putting together all these numbers. And John Madden has been working on this for, I think we're on what, year 5, John? Or 6?
5 or 6, yeah.
6, yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Do you wanna pipe in here?
Well, with regard to the budget process, that's where we're starting from. You need to find out where the revenue is going to come from, and by doing that, you look at the 3 main sources of revenue, and that's taxation, local receipts, and state aid. Taxation, for the most part, is easy. It's the base of the prior year plus a 2.5% increase to that base, not to the individual properties, but to that base. And local receipts, which we trend and we watch, and those are your most important and your significant revenues, primarily because they're renewable, and that's your target. You want to develop a system in which your taxes and your state aid are enough to fund your ongoing expenses. We talk about free cash and how we supplement the budget with free cash, and it's commonly known that free cash as a one-year expenditure is best used to match up to capital programs like buildings, trucks, major repairs, things like that. Over the years, and the advisory committee has been trying to make a point of this, we've been using significant and increasing amounts of free cash to supplement the budget. What happens is, once you use that to supplement the budget, that free cash is gone. It never comes back because now it's absorbed, and you've got to figure out a way to pay for what you've done with renewable revenues. And by doing that, you bump up local receipts, or you look at how to manipulate the taxation, and it becomes difficult more and more. It creates a larger and larger deficit because of the fact that you're not supplementing with ongoing revenue. So those 3 are your largest points of interest as far as revenue goes. On the expenditure side, you have primarily your common expenses, and we have tried over the last few years to keep, by common expenses we mean salaries, utilities, supplies, those sorts of things. We've tried to hold the line at salary at 2.5% and expenditures of 2%. And as you can see, over time, we're still losing. And so we have an issue, I think, with budget that we have to look at, as well as revenue. Where are some new revenues? Outside of those ordinary expenditures, as I would say, or non-discretionary, that we primarily have control over, then there are others. There's health insurance, which everybody knows is going through the roof. There is the town's share of the pension payments to retirees and to fulfill the ongoing chapter 45. It has to be 45 around there. That says the town has to also fund the active employees and their portion that they will receive when they finally retire. So those are mandates. Those are non-discretionary expenditures. Like I said, insurance is high, pensions are high, and everybody's looking around thinking about major construction, and that will come from debt. And once you have debt, it's one of the first things you pay. You do whatever you can to make sure that you pay those non-discretionary, and then you have school. You have what you have to provide to the regional school. Well, over the years, the the operating budget has been subsidized by free cash. Last year it was 400,000. Now we're looking about 405,000. Now we're looking at about 560,000. So we are paddling in the wrong direction. And what are the all the cures are on the table, as Laurie and Teresa has said. You know, squeezing the budgets. What don't we need? What are the discretionary that we can cut back on? You know, everything to try and get closer to the subsidy being zero. And the advantages of getting that subsidy down to zero is that you can now have a more robust capital program. You should be able to do more with free cash, but you're using it to pay your electric bill. And that's not how it's ever meant. You know, you see needs in every building. And that's what capital is for. So tonight, my understanding was that we give you the how we got to where we are, and then how we start listening to how we got to where we are, and discuss and consider all options, again, everything on the table, to close that gap. Can anybody close $560,000 in 1 year? Unlikely. We would have to do it over the course of a couple, 3 years, depending on how disciplined we are. And so that is where the numbers come from. That's where we are now, in a brief history.
Go ahead.
Any questions?
Okay, Teresa's going.
No, John, everything you said, that's it, and that's one direction to go in. But again, everything's on the table, and I guess I really wanted to also find out, you know, what your thoughts are on pursuing an override, or are we more inclined of, you know, working this next fiscal year on a pretty tight budget, obviously not, you know, cut down to raw bones, but significantly lower than what we currently have for a budget, and working throughout the year fiscal 27 to try to coop what we can and make the necessary changes in pursuit of a long-term sustainability before broaching an override. Like, you know, as I understand it, I wasn't here, but I understand that there's not much of an appetite for it, and that there was a lot of upset, I guess, for lack of a better term. So I just want to know what your thoughts are on that, and then maybe we go from there, you know.
Can I back up one more?
Sure.
I'm not sure who can answer the question about the revenue and expenditure sheet. It has that it's renewable revenues and advisory committee recommendations is what the heading is, with anticipated assessment. So I guess what I'm looking at is on the operating expense side, where are those numbers coming from? Is that a kind of percentage added to that with an estimated percentage for next year? Or
Currently what you have is, except for those, exceptions that I mentioned, health insurance, pension assessments, and debt, the operating budget is 2.5% increase for salaries, which represents basically an attempt for using one tide to rise all boats. You have contractual agreements for 2.5% for department heads that have contracts and such, and union contracts that have 2.5% increases. So we use that as kind of the constant, the 2.5% for salaries, and level funded expenses.
Level funded or 2%, John? I thought you said 2% in the email earlier. For the expenses.
Let me go back. I apologize. Let me go back and see what we finally landed on. with me. Now, as part of the modifications I mentioned in the email, Roland, we went to zero for expenditures.
Okay. So it's level funded, not level salaries. Okay.
So John, one more question on the education side. Is that vocational plus the regional assessment? And what percentage?
Yeah, both are funded at 5%.
5%.
And honestly, it's difficult to get it closer, more accurate until January when the foundation comes out.
Yep.
So it's kind of a wild ass guess. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
It gives us a starting point of what's included in this estimate at least, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
And if the school wanted to keep to that, that would be pretty terrific.
or less.
And then, John, the member benefits include a 20% increase in medical insurance and a 14% in retirement.
Yes.
And this is just the debt service that we currently now have. So if anything else comes up this year, that would be additional.
That's correct.
Okay.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay.
So I guess I'll throw this out to the select board. What are your thoughts on doing an override again?
Personally, I think we should try. I don't think it'll pass, but I think we need to try.
I personally look at it from what I heard from the taxpayers and the voters last time is if we have money, why aren't we using that first? And I understand the financial piece of using free cash to balance it. But to ask taxpayers to pay more taxes so we can have free cash is going to be the hard rub, and I think it will fail.
I agree that it will fail. I don't even know that there are that many people voting who go through that much thought
Correct, yeah.
process
No, I
to get
understand.
to the
Yeah.
point
What,
that
what I'm
it
thinking
will
is
fail.
we have a spending problem.
Right, but
We got to fix that
How
first.
We have a
much-
revenue. We have
we
a
have-
revenue
we have
problem.
a little bit of both.
We got more
how
of a revenue
much
problem.
free cash do we have?
Was it 900, John?
I'm sorry,
What was our free
the
cash?
question?
What is our current free cash, John? I mean,
It has
being
not
transparent.
Been, it
We
has
hasn't
not
been certified yet,
certified
right?
yet by the DOR,
They're just submitting.
so I'd rather not hazard a guess any higher than $1.
Okay,
I'm not being snarky, that's just, you know, if
Not certified.
we were to give you an estimate that was too low,
Yeah.
you'd
yeah,
Yeah,
tell us
agreed.
that we
Okay.
were idiots. If we said it was too high, you'd say, so it's $1
Agreed.
until it's certified by DOR.
And what was it
Okay.
last year?
that's a good question.
I believe it was
Like
Was that
945.
about
900,000.
I thought it
Was
was
that
900
going
last year.
into it?
That was total free cash
at
Total
the-
free cash
after
last year.
before we
Before
we pulled 400 out.
That's what we had available to draw from.
Okay,
In the end,
so
the balance
so
of
we're
free
in the
cash was like
half.
17 grand,
We're in the
wasn't it?
500,000
Yeah, we-
neighborhood.
Well, and then whatever happened during 25
whatever
gets
we
added
come
to
in.
that, and
Come in.
a number
Okay.
of other gyrations happened to it. So
Didn't,
Okay.
didn't
Does
last year?
Last year free cash was 969,000.
and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
ended with about 13,000, 16,000.
Something like that,
16
yeah.
20,
Yeah.
13 and
That's
change.
what was left when we
13
were
and
done
change.
Yeah.
with town
So-
meeting.
After town meeting, it was 13 and change.
Oh, okay. So and there are not a lot of sources that feed into that. It's not
There is
likely to
not.
be a very
Unspent expenditure money that was
I
budgeted
gotcha,
and revenue
okay.
that came in more than what we budgeted.
Okay.
That's
all right. So it
about
so
the
it can
size of it.
increase.
So Lori, could you speak?
John, does it historically increase? You know, by a range. I'm just
Not,
no.
well, part of it
No,
is,
no, there's suggestions of a target. The DOR will say anywhere between 2.5% and 5% of your operating budget should be free cash.
Yeah.
mainly you hope for stable, because there's always something that's going to happen. You're going to get a revenue windfall, or you're going to get an expense that maybe you hadn't budgeted for, or just didn't have the money for.
But
So what happens in this case, when we talk about, let's say last year having 900,000 in free cash, and we used over 400,000 of that
For the budget.
for ongoing expenses, that free cash now becomes part of what you have to make is renewable revenue. So there,
Right.
for all intents and purposes, the amount of money that we've been using in free cash disappears, and as such, you should eventually run out.
Yeah.
And I don't think that this year, because of some of the holes that we filled, and some of the things that we felt that we needed to do, I don't think your free cash is going to be very high at all.
well,
I
so
don't know
that
if you're going to have.
Okay,
that's
you're
kind
not
of
gonna
where
have
I'm
the free cash you
just
expect.
okay,
just for
Teresa?
a point. I'm all I'm
Okay.
trying to get my head around is that we're looking at a figure of close to a negative
yes.
600,000, and it's not likely that we'll, even if we were willing to spend all our free cash, it's not likely that we're going to have it.
Not
That's
to last year's.
I don't
That's-
see
I think it's gonna be higher.
with all confidence either way.
Okay.
We'll see what free cash is when it comes in.
Okay,
We have
Teresa?
unpaid legal
In
fees.
addition to
More
everything
legal
that
that come
John
in.
said, Donna has done some research and comparing data for several fiscal years, and the trend of the usage of the budget, all those line items at the end of the fiscal year is tightening and tightening. And I believe, Donna, that you had said this fiscal '25, the usage of those funds was like in the high 90 percentile.
That's right.
And so that's an increase that she's been watching, and it is increasing. We're using more and more and more, which means less into free cash as well. So
Well, we've
Right.
been
So
budgeting.
So when we're looking and we say, oh, the budget's going up 2.5% over this side and 2% over here, what is trending is it's actually close to like 4.6% is what it's been increasing per year over the last 5 years. So just to let you know.
So if I may, I agree with going for 2.5%. However, we know what we're taking in, right? We just have to start. We need to start planning for the future. I agree with John, and we need to start figuring out how to not rely on like our 2.5% increase that we're relying all the time on this tax revenue, and start applying that more to some of the issues that we have that are coming up. My salary is $100,000. I'm not going to keep on spending $125,000 every year. It's a poor habit.
No, if unless I'm mistaken, the 2.5% that's referenced when we calculate taxation, that's required addition by the DOR.
Yeah.
It's part of the formula to set the following year's base, as opposed to 2.5% override.
Right.
I think the point is, though, if we try for an override, we should be operating under the assumption that it's not going to pass,
Correct.
and that we're certainly going to be needing to look at
Absolutely.
the expense side as well.
And to that, I think you're absolutely right. And part of that would be that we have to present, have the override numbers, all of that data compiled, accurate, but we also have to prepare budget, worst case scenario, right? So it'll be a twofold process. It'll be a ton of work, but,
Will the override pass? Well, hopefully, if you decide to go forward with one. But we were talking about the last override that we had a couple of years ago, or before the fire engine anyway. But we were asking for an override so we could add certain things. We were going to add a patrolman. We were going to enter into an ambulance contract and such. We wanted the override so that we could do this. You want the override now so you can save services. It's not a question of what you want to add with the override. It's what you want to save, and that's tremendously different than what I think has been tried to be sold in the past. What should be ongoing, I think, through the entire process is what each department can give up, or maybe even can't give up. But when you discuss the override approaching the ballot, is that as of July 1 of next year, whatever you think. I don't want to start any trouble or anything, but there are things that without the overtime, you're gonna have to, the override, you're gonna have to cut. We're not asking for anything new. We're trying to save services for the residents, and we can't do it in this path. So you sit there and you say you need an override for X amount of dollars, or this service will be eliminated, or these hours will be reduced, or personnel will be eliminated. Not we want the override so that we can buy more really cool stuff.
Okay.
So the only other thing I was thinking, I know when we were doing the public safety stuff, there's a lot of town properties that we're just holding. Is there anything we can just auction off some land? It might not be useful, but it might give us a little bit of.
Something that I mentioned. We don't have anything. So I tried to do. We had 3 properties before the whole tax title blow up that happened in November of 2024. We have 3 properties that were possibly could perk test and sell. Board of Health wasn't really working with me in the timeline that we had at that point to get these properties perk tested. They only had the weekend available. We have to hire outside perk testing, so that means I need more funding in order to get these properties perk tested. I'm already out of my tax title budget right now. I have $0 left, and we're not even halfway through the year. So I can't pay for the properties to get perk tested out of my budget line that is already 0. So basically, in order to make money, we need money. And I don't have money in my budget to do that. So we have some property that I could possibly hold like a small auction, but no auctioneer wants to touch the properties we have because they're not worth anything.
Lovely.
Catch 22. So it sounds to me as though if we entertain the thought of an override, the election comes first before the town meeting.
Correct.
So operating under that assumption of, I don't want to say worst case scenario, Teresa, I'd rather say 2 different versions.
Okay.
And one's going to be it passes, and the other one is it doesn't pass.
Correct.
And these are the 2 scenarios, and build 2 different budget
Budgets.
versions, whether it passes or not.
I mean, 2 years ago, we discussed that, but it just never got to that point where we did it.
Right.
I won't. I mean, 2 years ago, I don't think we did a very good job. We could have done better.
Looking at a $600,000 deficit, though, even if the 2.5% passed, would that even be sufficient to cover that deficit?
Well, you can.
Should we?
You pick the number.
You can pick the number.
Yeah.
But,
sure.
But
And that's for
again, we
1
still need to be fiscally
We need to make sure that
responsible.
the
You gotta
number
pick a
going
number
forward
that's
is gonna
gonna
have
Right.
enough for the following years.
Right.
Right. So I guess my point is, even if we do get an override that goes to the budget and passes, shouldn't we still be looking at ensuring that we're operating in a budget that doesn't take that into account, so that can continue to build up the free cash and support us longer term versus just trying to get through this 1 year?
That then looking to the future, I think the building, we have an immense expenses coming up with our town hall, buildings, equipment. That's still, how are we going to pay for that? That's going to add to debt.
Well, it may have to come out of stabilization. We can't have town hall fall down.
No, we can't, but it's not just town hall. I mean, West Brookfield Elementary's got a window and door project
Yeah.
that will be expected, if it passes and improves, that would pay for a portion of that project. MSBA would pay a portion, but the town would have to pay a portion. We have the town hall repair work that's structural. It's an issue. We've got the water
Yep.
piece, which I know would be user fees. We've got the Route 9 Phase 3 construction piece, which we're still trying to
Figure out.
pin down. We've got, I've heard about library needing pointing, which is quite extensive money, number that I remember. And also the town hall HVAC.
Yep.
Those are the ones that I remembered,
Yes,
which are all big ticket items
yes, they are.
and need to be done. So that has to be worked into this.
And that number can go
Financial
up,
piece.
594.
Well, right, because of course debt is gonna show up.
Correct.
here,
Even
right?
if we borrow the money or take some out of stabilization, we're never going to be able to pay for all of it out of stabilization. So the debt would go up, which creates that scenario again.
Well, and then you're back to the point where if your stabilization goes below
Right.
the point that the state
Yep.
Then you
sets,
can't borrow.
then we can't borrow.
Yep.
So we have to keep our stabilization here.
Yep.
So in case we need to get money, we have the option to do that.
Yep.
Just to be transparent, we have raised the hotel tax. That's something we enacted to raise up. We went to the max on the food meal receipts, so we're
I know.
we're
We-
you
I
know,
mean,
we're
Permit fees.
permit fees
don't-
have gone up. We
We
changed our
don't have
fees.
a
Yep.
lot of revenue sources here.
No.
No.
We
So-
don't.
So on top of what we're planning now, just the, the immediate upcoming fiscal 27 budget, really, we all understand that it's not just fiscal 27.
Right.
It's long-term budgeting, right?
Yeah.
So we should look at it in 3 years, we should look at it in a 5-year, so on and so forth. And then we have to identify long-term items that we can take control of and work on, whether it's within our financial management, policies, and abiding by some of the Division of Local Services recommendations for towns that are in this situation. And then also looking at, other sources of revenue. So one thing that comes to mind is the short-term rental that didn't quite make it, or it made it on the warrant and it failed. There seemed to be some loose ends, taking another look at that and seeing what those loose ends are. If it is possible, then that's another area that we can bring in. Is it going to give us immediate relief? No, but it's something to work on.
And you're talking about taxes on short.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the
And limiting
local,
it, and limiting
local
it.
options.
Yeah.
Then the
Getting-
other things,
Getting the
possibilities to
structure to
look at are, what we do with free cash, like John had explained, you're basically, you just, it's gone. But you could set up a stabilization that is specifically for supplementing a budget when it's absolutely necessary, and you let that grow. You continue to put into it and you let it grow. And then when you need a small amount, you can pull from that instead of taking from your free cash and dealing with that hit. There's different things that we can do that I think will be just as important as trying to get an override through, because we are going to need to demonstrate to the taxpayers that we see the issues, we're identifying the issues, we're working on the issues in their best interest, right? And so I think I wish I had brought it with me, but it's not about me talking tonight. It's just that, I think there's some stuff that we can look at and work on together for long-term, and not just the focusing on fiscal 27.
Yeah. No, what we're looking for tonight is we got to get a plan.
Got to get a plan, that's right.
And we got to figure out what direction we want to head, because if we don't have a plan, we're just going to flounder.
It sounds like one of the things missing is all the looming expenses that Cammie just outlined.
Mm-hmm.
What has to happen this year? What can wait 2 years? What is actually going to is everything just going to fall, right now?
Pretty much
So that we
all
can-
of it's like this
It
year.
sounds like it's
Within
it's
the year.
already been
That-
waiting.
It's
yeah,
here.
a lot of
Yeah.
it's already been waiting, but
Yeah.
like, is it really all? Because that number is half, less of what we'd actually be looking at.
I'd say
Or
half,
four.
maybe not more.
Keep going.
Do you think this is half of free cash?
No, what I'm saying is half of what we're actually going to have to spend after covering everything from the town hall to Route 9 to.
I'd say.
Oh, we're not going to have any of
I'd
this
say
left
guesstimate.
if we take the free cash to cover.
That's
What we need to
that's
do.
the
I don't
point.
even know
Like,
if
where
the
do
free
we
cash
go?
would cover what we need.
No, I
I think
That's the
imagine it
problem.
would.
What
I
Roland
think
said
it
is
would
it'd
be.
probably be stabilization.
I'm saying the deficit. This is the deficit would be.
But then
This
what
is a
you say,
deficit
they
just
borrow.
from
I'm
the
saying
operating
this is half
expenses.
of the deficit, actual deficit we should be
Oh.
considering we have to cover.
Yeah.
If we do all of that
More than that.
in the same fiscal year.
No, maybe even a third. This is probably represents maybe a third of the additional expenses. Because the phase 3 is another $1 million this year, isn't
Close to it.
it? Yeah.
Hard to tell.
Well, the phase 3, the obligation, so phase 3's been broken down into several years, so I think it's a span of what, 4 to 5 years or so? So I think the number for this upcoming year originally had been around 500,000. I know that Jim and Ann have been working with the engineers to shave that down, and then looking at options of possibly using other funding sources like Chapter 90 to help offset some of it, so.
I'm writing a grant also, see if we can get, I'm working with CMRPC and MassDOT to see if we can get a grant written.
So even best case scenario, that's 400,000 that we need to come up with to finish for our obligation for phase 3.
And the roof needs to be replaced for town hall.
Which is
That's
What did we say?
that's
What was that
immediate.
number yesterday?
which was over $200,000 because it doesn't even include the cupola.
Didn't
And we're
include the cupola.
and we're at 202,000.
Assuming we're going by
That also
asphalt.
didn't include
can go
slate
asphalt.
if the
Yeah.
determination is
We
made.
need to
that it
talk to the
has go
historical
slate.
commission and
And if
convince
it
them.
goes to slate, all bets are off.
Another
Yeah, 'cause-
I was gonna
$130,000.
say, yeah, it's gonna be 30% more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
400,000.
Then the library was a,
The
exterior
library
piece.
was estimated,
About 100?
$700,000.
700, sorry.
Yeah.
And the
But-
ta- and the
It's
and
the
the ta-
entire exterior
need
of
to
the building needs to be repointed, and there had been areas where it had been repointed, except that the contractor didn't use the appropriate mortar for historic bricks, and what they used was more porous, so it has allowed the water to seep in through the mortar, get on the back side, and now mold is pushing out
And you
from
don't mold
within.
because that
So-
abatements.
So-
Mold abatement is.
So it's a big deal, and that will have a significant impact on the structural integrity of that building over time. So
in the town hall HVAC somewhere about 100.
about 100,000 for that. That's a huge unit up in the attic
Yep.
area.
Yep.
One of the thoughts was in the spring, to try to apply for competitive green communities to replace that. And we have inspections this coming week for the green community projects that have been completed. So that would be one of the questions that we could ask Kelly Brown from DOER when she comes out.
In the West Brookfield Elementary windows and door project estimate,
It's $1 million, isn't it?
I thought it was last I knew was $1.5 million to $2 million.
We
For-
don't have,
Was the full?
Was the
I
full.
would say that the full is gonna probably be around, and once again, you can't hold me to
Yeah.
this, but I'm saying it would probably be $2 million with 40 to 60% reimbursement from MSBA.
So roughly
We'll
how much was
get
it?
more definitive numbers on that once
So-
we.
So,
We need to come up with $1 million.
so our
Yeah, I was gonna
portion
say,
would
we were at
be
7 before that.
Yeah.
600,000.
Well, it could be $1 million.
Could be $1 million.
560.
Yeah.
No, that is $1 million, and
So
we'll go
we-
from there.
Yeah.
Depends on whether we get
We
the
have
40
to
or the
smear that
60.
deficit across all
Yeah.
of our budgets.
2.8
Yes.
million.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fun.
So
Yeah.
the other piece, Jillian, correct me if I'm wrong, so even if we borrowed for all of this, there's borrowing costs. Because I know I went out to bond last year, and the borrowing cost to borrow 4.2 million was $60,000 just to borrow.
We can always ask for a premium and have
I
borrowing.
did.
Yeah, we can always try
I did.
to get the borrowing costs paid for
Yep.
through a premium. But yes, there are borrowing costs that
Yep.
would be
It
associated with that.
Costs more money.
And you
yeah.
have to think that that's just adding, because this
Yeah.
debt service line right here is 118
Yep.
or 114. We'd be adding to that.
Yep. every year for
every
however
year
many
for
years that
many
we take the
years
debt
for the
for.
borrowing.
For new properties for building, what's our acreage amount per lot? Do you know?
Not,
No.
yeah.
Depending on where you're at.
Building department?
Yeah.
The building department.
Is Jeff here?
Yes, he's good.
Okay, Jeff. What are we doing? How much for a property
Do you need
outside the
minimum?
town limits?
Excuse me, I'm
Is
not
it-
sure what you
is
were
it-
asking.
Is it two acres to build a new house outside of town?
I'm not the zoning officer, I
Yeah,
can't
zoning.
answer
Can't
that.
do
I'm sorry.
I thought it was an acre, but around the lake, there's some exemptions.
Well, yeah, there's the
Depends on the
stuff.
zoning.
Yeah, I know
district.
there's certain
Yeah.
districts,
No.
yeah.
I'm just curious if we lowered that, maybe more people want to build a home.
And you're gonna have more service.
Well, we've got more services, but
They,
yeah.
they tried to change the zoning
But
around
be careful of the
Brookhaven
water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because there's a lot of really small lots and
Yeah.
they're not buildable. So they tried to change zoning so people could buy like multiple and then have a 1 acre lot instead of a 2 acre and build on that. But that got shot down at town meeting. Brookhaven residents weren't happy with it.
There are a lot of properties that the town does own in Brookhaven that are worth nothing for that very reason.
Yeah, because
Well, so I'm wondering if we try to break it down a little bit,
it's just the residents
just to
sort of.
entertain. Well,
Well, we could certainly try it,
yeah.
you know, next town meeting.
Again, I'm just trying to spitball.
But those don't have immediate.
No,
No, that's not a
They
mean,
have
but I'm
no
but I'm trying to
immediate
think
impact, but it's
outside
part
of
of the
here. You know,
long
to
term.
entertain
Yeah.
more people to
Yeah.
move in, businesses to move in.
Yeah.
We need to
Yes,
operate
that's
on
somewhere.
two levels. We need to do the immediate and the long term of what we can
Right.
do today that would help next year and the year after at the same time.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
If I could ask, as far as long-term, that we know, where are we at with the water rehab? Who's paying for it?
Yeah.
There was no debt exclusion in the article, so that would suggest that it's going to be by the users.
I believe.
And
it's
what
for
have you got?
users.
1,000 users paying $6.2 million?
yeah, that's not gonna fly.
Phil, hold on, John.
I can speak to that. Phil Guerin, Chairman of the Water Commissioners. So the intent is to have the water users pay for that project. We are borrowing the money through the state or through the federal government. We're waiting on the state, the state revolving fund. We applied for financing and we're waiting to see what that package looks like.
Yeah.
But it's a $6.25 million project, maybe more. We are going out to bid on it because we don't know what we're gonna get from the state until we actually have a price for construction.
Yep.
So it's going out to bid, December 1st or thereabouts. We'll have bids by the end of January, so we'll know what the true costs are.
Cool.
State revolving fund is a
It's gonna be
2%
fun. I'm a water user.
loan, but we do get a portion of that as loan forgiveness. Right now, that looks like a minimum of 13%. Could be more, but we again don't know that figure until we actually have a bid out. We've also applied to the USDA for some federal funding, and that's a little less sure at this point.
So therein
And it's just
therein
something to
lies
keep in
another
mind
issue.
if in fact the
2.5%
general
now your water
populace
users.
is gonna own any of the debt. Because that's a lot to put on the back of the water users.
It is.
Just to keep in mind.
All the
It's an
bills
awful-
have gone up.
That's going to be your voting basis for the
Interest
2.5 on top of that.
Paid in time. It's astronomical.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Can I ask you a quick question, if you don't mind? The three properties that Jillian was talking about that we have by tax and title, and you said they need perk tests for them. Are we required by law to perk them?
They just sell better if you perk test them, so
Sure.
no, we could
You know what they're
auction
buying.
them, but no auctioneer wants to auction properties that aren't perk tested, so we would have to just hold an auction ourselves. And
What if we offered them to an abutter of those properties?
So
they
that's
could
something-
expand their own property and not, you know.
yeah, that's something I actually was talking about trying to do something this spring, but I need money. I have no money because I need our tax title attorney to help me with that. And I have $1,000 left in that budget line for the fiscal year. So that is something I really want to do. I want to, we do have properties that I think would have some abutter interest and we could get some money for it.
I can get
but
you
I
a
have
list.
to
We
have
have
an
a list.
auction
I
and
don't think
have
there's
an
more than
attorney
3.
for
There's a
that.
lot of land.
So the auction is a state requirement
It
for
is.
a community. You can't simply negotiate.
No,
with
you
them.
have to have an auction.
yeah.
Yes.
It's like a bidding. situation.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there really aren't any short-term places to go. Yeah, that's the problem.
This isn't easy.
No, and I'm always good at being sort of the bearer of glad tidings, but those individuals who were invited here tonight, who are for the most part sitting quietly in the audience, have all learned that we're looking for them to level fund or do better than that. And that message, as unfortunate as it is a lot of why you people have been asked to be here tonight, to understand what we have to go through. And rather than have you put together budgets that in a couple of months we're going to see that have blossomed, part of what we want to communicate is the transparency to understand what it is we've got to do here, to get to the end of the day. And we need everybody's best effort.
I mean, just rough numbers. It's 2.8 million on the stuff that needs to be done this year.
We don't even have that in stabilization.
We don't have that.
No,
God,
no. Even if we wipe that out and free cash, we don't have enough.
No, we don't have. We're nowhere near that, and that's just to get us by through this stuff. So I mean, there's a lot of work to be done, and we've got to figure out. We've got to have a good plan.
Yep.
And if we're going to go for an override, then we need to have, like we said the last time, we need to all speak the same language.
What
If I could
money
briefly
is
mention something about
associated?
the override. We've tossed around a deficit right now of $563,000. No one should be surprised if the override was for $1.5 million or $2 million, because you don't want to go back to the voters every year to cover your deficit.
Correct.
You project forward 3, 4, 5 years. Calculate what your deficits are going to be disciplined, and calculate what you're going to need to cover those deficits for 3, 4, 5 years. So it wouldn't be 563.
Right.
100,000. It would be substantially more than that.
Absolutely.
Steve, if you guys do regionalize with North Brookfield, I know this is where does that leave us financially if that happens?
We wouldn't be regionalizing, we would be tuitioning, which is a little bit different. Financially, we would have to negotiate what that tuition agreement would look like. Once again, I know that I heard 14%. I think we're looking probably higher than 14% on our health insurance.
Yeah.
No, 20% is what we're estimating.
And that's what we're looking
Yeah.
at is 20%, which is about 400,000. I can't put a number to that until we get what that tuition will be. Obviously, we will continue to look at that as a possibility, and we look at every avenue we can to reduce the costs. I can't put a number out on that.
I'm thinking if you did like the building, right? So North Brookfield High School and Elementary is a very decent sized building. Would you be looking at moving students from different schools and buildings to allocate those rooms?
We're just going to take their kids in and they're going to pay us.
Students?
Yeah,
Okay.
we wouldn't be touching any.
Wouldn't be
North
touching the
Brookfield
facilities.
buildings.
Okay.
And we wouldn't be looking at elementary. It would be looking more middle high school.
Okay.
Just taking the
because
kids
of the cost
getting
of
a
running
tuition
that
check.
at this point.
School choice.
I was just trying to think
better
of
level.
Yeah.
school, West Brookfield, move kids to North Brookfield.
They tried to regionalize
But it's
it,
not,
it failed.
is it going to be
look like it
pure
was gonna-
income, or are you going to have class sizes that increase and a certain number of expenses and new staff to accommodate
There
those
will be
numbers?
some
So it's not.
expenses on it.
What else?
Yeah.
And once
So
again,
even though-
we'll have a positive net revenue on it if that happens. I can't tell you exactly what that number
Yeah.
will be, but
Yeah.
if we take in 136 students in second grade, then we'll probably have to add a couple special education
gives me
teachers, maybe a couple
direction
grade
to
level
start
teachers.
coordinating that.
But
I
we will
fully
have more
expect to take
information on that
ownership
upcoming. I
of
have a
it
meeting in
and
North
be,
Brookfield in a couple
you know,
weeks.
getting everything
It's the
moving.
same problem.
Now-
It takes money to make money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just that you can
We can pay.
You can
be-
pay
It'll
as
co-
you
it'll cover it.
You can pay as you go. Where
Yeah.
Like this
For
is
that
already
one.
a capital fund, and we see this. Will the board want to look at expenses being reduced a bit? I don't know. That type of thing, so I think that's the next discussion.
Tonight?
Yeah.
If
Yep.
at all possible.
Okay, well, I guess first of all, I think I'd like to see if we have a little straw vote on an override, if we think we're gonna head that direction. Because that's gonna be how we do the budget process. If we do an override, we're gonna have to go with an override budget, and then we're gonna have to go, if an override doesn't pass, budget. And where is that, what are those numbers gonna be?
Okay, so if what the base increase is 2.5, and
For salaries.
For salaries?
no, what is under tax levy?
Yep.
What is
2.5.
what is the increase? The annual increase on taxes?
2.5.
Okay,
Yeah.
so your 2.5% increase on our current tax levy nets $200,000 or 188,000. Is
Yep.
that what I'm reading?
Correct.
Right.
Okay, so that's what 2.5% gets you.
Yeah.
So what do you have to go to, like?
And the new growth, so the 61,000 below it.
So 250.
So it's about $240,000 additional revenue we have coming in
Okay,
just for the override, and, I mean, just for the two and a
just for
half.
the annual.
And new growth.
Yeah, annual
About.
and new growth. So what I'm trying to get at is if to get at a number that John thinks is worth approaching, what kind of, tax increase are we looking at? And to get to $1 million,
We don't know that tonight.
We won't, that's gonna be a lot of calculating and all of that. There's no way to pull that rabbit out of the hat tonight.
But it's
A lot.
not, I guess the bottom line is if we move forward with saying, let's ask for an override, see where it goes, we're not asking for just the 600 is what John is recommending.
right?
Do a
Yeah.
multi-year one so you're not going back again next year. And I think that's the hard part for me, is that's what we had asked the voters last time, is we had a number that was going to sustain us, and it didn't work.
Yep, and so it was instead of a 2.5%, what would be like 4% for the next 4 years, or is that
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just looking for the structure of how it is.
If my math's right, 5% only brings you up 377,000.
Yeah, that's why you bring your calculator. I
Yeah.
knew what you were doing. So I guess what I'm driving at is it's a pretty significant number to get us where we need to go, and I just do not believe that it will fly.
I don't think it will either, but I think we have to try. I don't see,
I mean, it's in the best interest of the town.
yeah,
I think it's a matter of, we lay the cards on the table, let the voters decide, but we get prepared for a no. So we have two different
I think-
scenarios, because
Exactly.
that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think we need.
I know it means a lot more work for this budget season, but
Stabilization accounts. People are gonna want you to spend that.
Well, the thing is, if you do stabilization, you can't borrow.
Because you have no money in
Crazy.
stabilization.
Nobody wants
The other thing, if I could, the other thing you gotta consider, something that you gotta make very public, is if the override doesn't pass, this is what you lose. Again, in retrospect, we could have done last time's override better, but the override, again, was for things that we want.
Yeah.
This is to keep the services that you get now. So, again, and I'm not suggesting this, it's just for general discussion purposes, okay? Reduction in hours for some of your services. Not suggesting just council on aging or library, but some towns close their police departments at night. Okay? Just reiterating that everything's on the table. Again, we're not looking for anything additional this time around.
So
But
John,
it would help if somewhere during the budget process, you develop examples of what the loss of an overtime
Yeah, absolutely.
is going to occur, and stick to it.
John, so I think the point I want to pick up is the last override did have the three additional items but it wasn't, the override wasn't just for those three things. It was use of less free cash, and those three things would be added as well. And it was a long term, so we weren't going back the next year asking for more money, is what that override was built on. It was the three pieces. And I think if the department heads complete budget requests this year, that shows with an override passing and without an override passing, we've already got detailed what will be cut.
Yeah.
In that budget scenario.
Do we?
We have to.
We don't, I haven't heard any.
I think an
any
override
details.
needs to
Well,
pass.
no, but
That's how we'll compare it, John.
You would need
That's what they,
Remember, besides level service and level funding, you're still gonna have to use a substantial amount of free cash that we don't know is gonna be certified. I mean, if we cause this much chaos and then find out that, geez, we didn't get enough money to certify the budget. It's, we've got to be very specific. You got to know what it is that's on the table to be cut. And again, I hope the school would be part of that, because it makes up the assessment that the taxpayers have to raise money for.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I think, or 2 years ago, I was very grateful that we found something in I think it was transportation. And that was a great help to the town, ultimately at the end. But I think you have to be specific, and people have to know without an override, this is what's going to happen. And then you have to determine, again, we talked about it, the town cannot, in any way that I'm familiar with, other than robbing a lot of banks, is going to make up $560-something thousand in 1 year without an override.
Right.
You can't find 500, almost $600,000 in cuts.
Nope.
So, do you want to determine that? Do you have any thoughts about incrementally reducing the need for the use of free cash outside of? Let's say you wanted to cut it, just for discussion purposes, $250,000. So the first year you come up with cuts of, between level funding, level service, and $250,000 less of free cash. Can you get to that number? And then do it again the next year, or incrementally based on the need for free cash. Really, short of an override, you're not going to find $560,000.
Nope. So if the override does not pass, if we put it out there and it does not pass, right now we're looking at 560 we need. We either, if we have it available, use it from free cash, which we may not, and make some reductions in the expenditure side, is how we would get there to balance 27's budget. And the less we have in free cash, or willing to use all of it, we need to make reductions more.
I mean, honestly, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like the for the departments and the operating expense, it sounds like level funded. We need the override to level fund.
Correct. It sounds like
So that when department heads are looking to set up two columns, level funding is the high.
That's
is
our
the
starting
high,
point.
is the high end. And the other column is if we don't get the override. You know.
But that's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
We're already almost done.
And the model that you have in front of you is not level funded, only in the expenditure accounts.
Right.
Yeah.
There, as we discussed, 3 or 4 accounts that we have no control over really. They're
Yeah.
Flat.
Insurance, pensions, and that sort of thing.
But those things are.
You have contracts, and you have several contracts in place
Right.
that provide increases of about 2.5%. A couple of the unions a little lower, but 2.5% right now is the highest. So it's not level funded.
John, so you're saying hopefully we get a 2.5%, and then also this year we'd probably potentially have to look at cuts for at least this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I think we definitely have to look at cuts this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
to fund these union contracts.
What's the number?
Unless they want to
Can we
open
say
it and
5%
say, yeah,
reduction
never
across
mind,
the
we'll
board?
go with 0, which is pretty unlikely.
What's a
To
realistic?
get to
Sorry,
to
what's a
get to
realistic
level
number?
budget, you've got to find to get the
percentage?
level funded. You'd have to find $563,000.
10% would be,
Maybe the smaller ones at a 5%, larger budgets at a 10%. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we've got to get creative in
Yeah.
looking at, what
for
those are.
what those numbers end up being.
Well, yeah, because the insurance and the debt service can't be lowered.
No.
So the others have to make up for it, is really what happens.
Fortunately.
Yeah, no, we've got our mandates we have to meet, even if they're not funded, we still got to meet them.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably a fair way to go, at least to get started. And hopefully we'll see what happens.
But what do you think of incrementally reducing the deficit?
Oh, I think you're right. I think that's the only way it
Yeah,
works.
that's our
We're not,
option,
we
yeah.
can't do
Yeah.
600 grand in 1 year. Oh my
No.
goodness.
The budgets are too bare bones to begin with.
Yeah.
But
And this is
that
level
could
funded.
be an alternative to all or nothing. I mean, if the override fails, or if you choose to go forward with the override, and if passes, well, that'll be great for the next 3 years or so, provided we practice discipline. Because remember, you're going to be sitting on $1.5 million, $2 million for 3 years,
We can't spend.
and annually withdrawing to cover the deficit, which is what the override did. If all of a sudden you say, "Oh, Christmas came early," then none of it works.
No, it doesn't.
But if you want to go level funded, or if you want to take the 563, let's say, and figure out a number you want to see if you can get cut from the budget, that ability, and say you want to get rid of it over 3 years. Everything's on the table.
I think unfortunately some of us are gonna have to feel it.
Yeah. All of us. Okay, so I guess we do 2 budgets.
So John, how would we,
Yes, sir.
services in town are already kind of bare bones, right?
Yeah.
And I think we all agree that we try to do the best job budgeting we can. There's not a lot of fat in our budget. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I absolutely would.
So
And
how are we supposed to?
You not only can't afford the fat, you can't afford the meat.
Right, but if I understand what you're saying as far as a future way of budgeting, but in some manners, if we want to incrementally reduce our dependence on free cash in an already lean budget, that means cutting additional services every single year, because as we all know, things don't go down, things go up. And the one thing that we've always been arguing in favor of an override is that every year the school goes up 6%, yet the state only lets us raise our taxes 2.5%. There's no way it's ever sustainable. There's no way to ever keep that model going. You need overrides just to keep everything level. And that's the argument we tried to make 2 years ago, and no one
The
listened.
regional school relationship is a complicated one. I mean, they have other communities that they deal with, and how you determine what to do if one community can afford it and another community can't. Well, that's a lot of work. It's not like it's your own school. You can ask that like I said, you can ask that the school district participate, understanding that I'm sure they have their own expenditure issues also. And it's not just limited to the town of West Brookfield, it's everywhere.
Yep.
But just determine what you could cut that would, obviously any cut's gonna hurt, but you don't want to cripple.
It's going to.
Yeah.
I don't know. if
I don't know whether
Brookfield
we
is
have
there
a
or
choice.
not.
Yeah, I think it's going to create.
And I can't speak for the regional district, but you know what? Again, if you want to walk into a particular office at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and found out that it's closed that day, if you want to go any of the facilities, any service that a resident thinks that they can just walk in and receive help, it's non-existent. It has the potential of being non-existent. You may walk into a building or an office and there'll be nobody there because you couldn't pay them.
I think the problem is,
It's-
John, we've already
It's
got
just
that.
realistic.
In some circumstances, the hours are very part-time in many of the offices already. That's the issue.
Yep.
And that we have to look at. The reality here.
It is.
And the budgets have been scrutinized right down. I mean, line by line by line. It's a 0-2 budget process that you folks have been using right along.
Well,
Which normally DLS at this point would be going, well, now here's what you got to do. But you've already been doing that.
Yep.
So
I mean, free cash next year is going to be very little because we have reviewed these budgets so much, and there's just nothing left in them.
No.
There's no extra money to
No,
throw
the
back.
free cash number that we have available is going to start going down more each year. So it's going to force us to do this because it's not going to be available. What is difficult is, and I understand financially, the reliance on free cash is not a good practice. But what is difficult for the departments and the taxpayers, if there's money in a free cash available, why are they paying taxes? Why are they cutting their budgets so the money can sit in an account? That's the hard task for everybody to
It
understand.
won't be there this year, so we won't have to worry
Well,
about it.
And if you look at these numbers, the reality of the situation is if this 10,676,000, okay, if within that number, the 5,491 for the school and the 1,183 for the benefits and insurance, those are numbers that are fixed and not able to be adjusted, then you have to take 15% out of every other number to get the 500 plus that you need, and that is not an achievable goal. That is not a goal that is going to happen. There's nobody in this room who's going to be preparing a budget who's going to come forward with numbers that show a 15% reduction, because over $6.5 million worth of that money is of that 10, it's fixed. So
well, the only piece on there is the education number that's here. It's not necessarily fixed. There's a vocational piece that, yes, it's fixed. Whatever the tuition rate is, we have to pay. The regional assessment from the regional school district is a number. It's estimated as a 5% increase. That could change.
And I understand these are all estimates, but every number here is an estimate.
Yep.
So in theory, the people in the town that that work for the town that we're asking to try and manipulate, if the numbers they can't control are taken off the table, the goal would be 15% to get rid of that deficit, and that is not achievable.
No, we're still going to, no matter what we do, we'll have to use free cash this
So
year.
And what is difficult, and I have a very difficult time, and I don't know if I could support, is if the school's budget were to go up 5% and every other town department went down 5 or 10, that I couldn't support. That, we're all in it together.
Yeah. And it's not impossible.
No.
Is Warren in the same kind of situation we are? Is there the same amount of pressure on the Warren portion of the school committee to reduce costs?
No,
They're doing
just had
pretty
a
well
special
financially.
town.
They're better spot than we are.
Yeah, so the biggest number that we could have hopes of modifying, the big brother driver is not in the same position we are. So
They pinch pennies.
it's probably not coming out of the school. That,
We do everything we can.
Yeah.
We're already looking, some of these numbers are the same.
yeah,
Health insurance, retirement.
Yeah.
Retirees insurance, so.
so your breakdown is percentage like this, it looks like this.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, where the biggest part of it is fixed, contractually or
I mean,
otherwise.
insurance
And we're
is the
starting the
biggest hit
process a
for
lot
anybody.
earlier so that
Oh,
we
yeah.
have the time
Last
to
year
go
and
through
this
that
year.
budget line
My-
by line, item by
What I have to
item,
pay at work is up by
and ensure that we are
60%
presenting
out of my
what's
own pocket
responsible
for insurance.
Yeah.
to both
Welcome for the free
towns,
COVID
regardless
stuff.
of financial
Yeah.
position.
Okay. Just
Well, we're talking like short-term strategy because that's where we need to be at too.
Pardon?
But we need to look at long-term strategy, and cutting isn't going to get us there.
No.
Yeah.
We got to increase the revenue base, right? Which is the
Okay.
populace.
Maybe
We got
it's
to
just
become more
the
desirable to
unfortunate
developers.
reality.
Increase.
Right, we need to talk to
Sometimes
zoning and see if we can try
things have
to
to just
do some
sit
things.
there.
to keep
That's
businesses.
where the
System
master
is a problem.
planning comes
There's no
in.
sewer in town.
What transparency is about.
And that is the
Everything is separate.
hardest
Yeah.
thing
That's
for
Even
economic
even
development.
Silvertown.
But even if you
So
did development, you
don't
could do
have-
community septic, right? Where you could build 50 houses onto one septic system.
Make them
I
pay
don't
town
see-
water.
If I could just reiterate.
Go ahead, John.
look,
But I think
yes,
we're talking
schools are
long-term
part of
strategy.
this.
Like
They're getting a pretty good idea
we got to try to
of
get that
what
number, which is the
your
biggest
situation
number on
is.
there.
Any help that they could give you would be very valuable, be a great advantage. But in the meantime, they can look the other way. So they're right. And so you look at that 563,000 and determine, as I said earlier, do you want to cut that by 200, 300? Discuss it amongst yourselves. What kind of cuts can you make? Can the department heads make? They can get that from 563 to 363, or whatever number the group settles on or ignores completely. This could be a 3-year project. If you keep continuing to go through cuts to services. If you go with an override and it passes, well, you're all set.
Focusing on what we can control, if we can project what will have to be cut without an override, it not passing this year would really, really increase the chances of it passing next year. At least we can say this is what will happen and then show it actually happening. So that there is some kind of accountability. The town feels like they're part of the town and not just on the outside looking in.
I think the town thinks that we've been crying chicken a little, for a long time.
Well, I think every town feels that way.
Yeah.
Across the state.
Yeah.
They're not
Oh, yeah.
passing anywhere.
No.
But
And I think the financial pressures on families with electric bills and gas bills and
the
food bills and
elderly
everything else is,
$1,000 a month for me.
it's not that they don't want to support that,
Yes.
they physically can't in their own
Everybody's
homes.
struggling.
Our
Everybody.
job is to let the town know what decision they're making. What they
Right,
decide is up
exactly.
to, is up
Exactly.
to us as
That's how I look
taxpayers,
at it.
not us as,
Put it in
committees.
front of them and let their the vote weigh out what they want to pay for and what they're going to have. John, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we try to take a look at reducing this number by this 563 by, let's say, $200,000, that's roughly about 2%. So of reduction.
It's not 2% of what we control.
No. That's what I'm saying. That's 2% of the whole thing. So it's going to have to be somewhere
Yeah.
between 3 and 5 for what we can control.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, whatever you decide, if I understood the question right, whatever you decide to cut would be cut over those discretionary accounts that you have. Because you're never going to be able to go after things like pension, health insurance,
Right.
unless, and these changes take time. But if you look at how you handle insurance,
Right.
and I know Jillian's mentioned that a couple of times, and it's a great idea.
Yeah.
We don't have to, there's not only one way to do it.
Right.
And Jillian's brought that point up, and we look at that. But that's a very slow process. That's a year or two, anyway.
Yeah.
But it's a great idea on her part, and we should look at it. You just got to find out what you want to do with $563,000 that you don't have.
So, just putting this out. I think we need the Prop 2.5 override.
Yep.
And then we need to use these numbers if the override passes. And then another budget with a 5% cut of what we can control if it doesn't pass.
Well, do you want to make it 5% for the small budgets and 10% for the larger budgets? Because, I mean, you're looking at 5% of somebody that's got a $100 budget.
Well, 5% overall. 5% as a whole of everything else. And how we get there is how we get there.
Is that enough?
Well, that's still hard for people to
I know it
budget.
is.
I mean, public safety, that'd be a $117,000 cut. 10%.
10%. And 5% would be 65.
65.
Yeah.
I'd say 5% for large, 2% for small,
Maybe we'll
and then
just-
go with the 2.5 override.
2%'s not,
2%.
won't do anything.
Yeah, but there are some budgets
You're in a
that are,
situation
Yeah,
right
but
now
there's
where
some
all
budgets
cuts are
that are
gonna
like-
hurt.
Oh, yeah.
that's all that's in it.
Yeah,
So we have to find out from each department what these cuts mean in
Yeah.
actual
Yeah,
service loss.
so each department head will have to go
And
back
so-
and
Are
say,
you good
We
to
can
go
let the
out with
people know
that?
this is,
Whatever is decided here, and then I will modify the packet to include that. So you already include a narrative document, so that document will also be used for the department heads to describe what these cuts will, what impacts would that have, because that's all the data that we're going to be using, in our presentations and that. So, whatever's decided here, we just have to get moving
We do.
in the process.
I mean, John, when we tried the last one, you came up with some really good numbers and visuals on how to.
Oh, that
Could you
that
go?
presentation,
Yeah, could you go there again?
I could dust it off and
Yeah.
see if it holds water. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to see what that looks like.
I think there's going to be a good illustration though, because just saying we're going to cut hours of service for something.
no, we'll have to say
People
this.
are going to say, okay, I'll show up at noon instead of 11 o'clock,
we need
right?
the
It's
department
going
heads
to
to
be,
tell us what it's.
Yeah,
it's
you
going
know,
to be
we're-
real like scare
It
tactic
may
almost.
mean losing a policeman, an overnight policeman. It may mean having one less person to plow. Or in,
Yep.
it's not gonna be pretty. We're gonna start having to cut services. There's just no way around it.
And like we said, I mean, it's not just us, it's across the state. And the state has no way to help us either.
No.
Well, they could, but.
Not that they're willing to give it to us.
Yes, ma'am.
I just really wanted to also state for everyone in this room, shadowing what you had already said. Earlier, you had said that if we were going to go forward with an override, we're going to go forward and try, that everyone had to be on the same page. Everybody has to be together in this, right? So it's not that we walk out of here and go, yeah, poo-poo, it's not going to happen. We're not going to throw that to the universe. It's going to be positive to the universe, but every single department counts. And we have to work together and not buck the system before it's even started, because then it will in fact fail. Right?
Well,
So
the other thing is,
that-
if there's questions, come talk to us.
absolutely.
Don't start going back and forth between everybody else. Come talk to us.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's part of the larger conversation too, right? This is all in the interest of transparency, right? So
Yeah.
none of this is designed to have departments get cut and feel like they got something slashed out. So attend the meetings, ask questions, give ideas, and like you said, be present.
Yeah, if you can figure out a better way, we're open for listening. Everything's on the table. None of us want to do this. None of us want to go
And
through
I
this.
don't know what the timeline is, but the Board of Selectmen have to be cognizant of the fact that they have a date for which they have to authorize a ballot.
You do. I think it's
December.
I want to say December.
I think we did it December last time to get it
Yeah.
on the May
I think it's
ballot.
got to be December. So I mean, it's got to be. And I mean, and that was just my opinion. I didn't like the way it was written the last time. but we were in a hurry. And so maybe we didn't put our best foot forward like we could have. Let's see if we can get our best foot forward on this.
Well, how much do we, if we put it on the
But
ballot?
that's what you gotta see what John's got. John gets the numbers together.
There's no dollar amount on the ballot.
No.
No,
I
there
mean,
isn't.
you need to have one. You need to have one, no question about it.
Right.
But
On the
at
warrant.
least as far as authorizing
And override.
An
the
override.
ballot question, yeah.
And then
Correct.
if it went to the ballot, it has to go to annual town meeting as well? Is it, or
Yeah.
just?
It go to annual town meeting
It
for a
goes to
2/3
election,
vote.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's not borrowing. Don't, never mind.
Just a,
It's
Just the
the
ballot?
budget.
The budgets go to town meeting.
Right.
That's what supports the override, and then the override whenever the vote comes after that.
Well, the
But I'll
vote,
verify that.
The vote's
the vote
before.
comes first, that's the problem.
yeah, vote comes
The
first.
ballot's first.
Ballot, yeah, because the ballot will be May.
That's the problem.
And our town meeting's in June.
No, then you gotta decide whether you have a special election.
Right. To explain at town meeting, vote two versions, and then they go to the ballot after.
Oof. Okay,
And it's not a debt exclusion, it's a general override.
yeah,
And I'm thinking,
You need a town meeting with two budgets.
I'll verify this, but I don't believe
Two lines.
the
vote
town
both,
meeting
with
has
or
a
without
say.
if it passes.
Yeah.
well, it just, we'd vote the budget at town
Yeah.
meeting.
No.
Yeah.
the vote is
That's all we vote.
But you probably should stick with it. I think you're better off having the election after town meeting.
Which is a special town,
Which is
special election.
town. And then you're into July,
We could have it,
June and
you could
July.
have it in June,
Yeah. but
right
it's-
after town meeting.
Yeah.
And you think it's better because of,
Because you get to explain and have conversations at town meeting, they get to see the numbers, they hear the department heads if they ask questions of what if, then they make their decision.
Yeah, but what do you vote at town meeting then? If-
What I've had happen when I've gone to towns that have had that, is they have two budget versions, two columns, with override, without the override. You're voting both numbers, and depending on the outcome of the ballot, determines which budget goes forward.
It's got to give it a
so
fighting chance. though, 'cause
I
when they
guess
vote
my
for it, they know what they're
question
voting
is, how many people routinely come to town meeting and how many people routinely vote
Oh, you
Probably
said
about 300 or 400.
a budget like this, they'll come.
to town meeting?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then election, probably more, because it's during the day.
Yeah.
Does that help, Teresa?
Yeah. No, as far as the budget preparation outside of override, because we understand that that'll be level.
We said, I think
will
we
you be
said
discussing- Oh,
5% decrease.
5% decrease.
for all?
Yeah.
Salary and
But
expenses.
did we say for the,
No,
we're gonna do the
we
large
can't
and the
do
small,
salaries.
or are we
Can't do
just gonna
salaries.
stick?
Oh, sorry, right.
A level 5.
All
We
expenditures.
gotta start somewhere, I guess.
They got to total out to 5.
Yeah, the whole budget
So
as a
their
whole.
department budget,
Department budget.
bottom
Yeah,
line.
Bottom line has to total out of 5%.
Within the department, most of the salaries are fixed
Yeah, which,
or increased.
yeah.
As,
And that's the 2.5, yeah.
right, but then there's also non-salaried individuals whose hours can be manipulated.
Right.
What
Or
else do you need, John?
That's-
people
yeah,
can be
that's-
cut,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
buildings can be closed,
Right.
or
Yeah,
none of the things that we want to do.
right.
What else you got, John?
More cold water? Is that what you're looking for? No. It's the town's in a very difficult position, and it's going to have to use very unusual tactics to get out of it. Again, a number that Teresa can use. If it's not 563, what number do you want to get down to for free cash? So that during the budget process with the department heads, you kind of have a tote board, how close you're getting to the target.
Okay.
That would be helpful.
We got
250.
Again, at the bottom of it, the document you have in front of you is a very fluid document.
Right, I think it's,
Whatever comes in for state aid, whatever comes in for foundation aid, whatever, we get for health rates. That all changes.
I mean, John, but, you were within what? 1% last year?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, you can say it's fluid, but it's only fluid to that point.
John is recommending that we do this over 3 years
Yeah.
to try to. So I think the target for this
I
year
just threw it out
should
there for
be.
discussion. If you
over-
guys think that's too fast,
What?
say so.
Well,
If you say it's too slow, say so.
Well, if it doesn't pass, it's not that fast.
Yeah.
so we're looking
But if you wanted to calculate an override number as best as we possibly can, then you just determine what the number of years is going to cover.
Yeah, so we don't have the override. We gotta somehow make up $600,000 or $700,000 over 3 years.
next year it'll be worse.
No, it'll be worse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Costs
next
will
year
go
it'll
up
be worse.
next year.
Yeah.
Free cash won't probably be
Cash
there.
will be less.
Yeah.
Because the number will be 700,000 or 800,000, it won't be there.
Yeah.
So it'll be
Yeah, they
immediate.
get-
And then,
less,
but things are also going to go up because we're going to have to go for debt
Unemployment.
exclusions for some of these other big ticket items we need.
And the debt's coming on.
And you have to be able to borrow, and so
Yeah.
what is the limit? We can't go below so we can still borrow.
I don't know what that is.
Can we
in
find that out?
stabilization. Yeah, I can find that out. Yeah.
Because I
Does
don't.
our bond rating?
We don't have a bond rating.
We don't borrow.
Yeah, no, we don't have
Sorry.
a bond rating at all.
So
That's something that we would need to obtain. I did talk to bond counsel.
I mean, if you could figure out what that and see what is available that we could take out of stabilization. I mean, again, that's a number that's fluid too because that goes up and down with
It also
ratings.
takes a 2/3 vote.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
Yes, but when they're faced with
Yeah,
that
I know.
or an override
I know.
or cutting
gonna be
something.
Well, it's just, that's another special town meeting.
that's a town meeting thing.
yeah.
Yeah, that's another special
Take
town
money
meeting.
out of the
Stabilization.
stabilization.
I don't think there's that much to take out.
Does-
to still live.
Does being at the minimum in stabilization then further affect the cost of money for us? If our stabilization budget is higher, does money cost us less?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we get better interest
Yeah, you'll
rates.
get
Right,
better
that's what
interest
I'm
rating,
saying.
get a better
Better-
bond rating.
better
yes,
bond rating,
yeah.
better
We look
interest
more
rate.
stable.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
So-
and if you look at
So that's
just
where
numbers.
we really are at
Yeah,
risk.
that's
if
our-
we go
our
there.
credit
We
score.
take money out
Yeah.
of stabilization.
Yeah.
We're not
That's
looking
exactly
at
what
We're looking at a downward
Not an 800.
spiral.
Yeah, we're not an 800.
No.
We're like a 550.
Yeah.
We pay our bills.
But we have nothing in the bank.
Yes, exactly.
And we don't earn any, and we don't earn any interest
Our
revenue
debt-
either.
Yeah, our debt to income ratio is
scores
all
don't care
over the
about what
place.
you have in the bank, just how much debt you have. How
okay,
much debt you
There are
have.
a number of communities that don't have a bond rating, and you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Common for small.
okay. Selectmen, what do you guys have? Anything else to say?
Do we want to take a straw vote to say this is how we're going to proceed? Or is that,
We're sorry.
we're sorry.
We're sorry.
We're sorry. We've tried, we've really tried, but it just,
I think it needs to be put to the voters and taxpayers to
I
decide.
mean, I think that we have a plan, and that
Yeah.
would come from you guys to go direct Teresa.
5%.
So if you guys want to do
5%
that,
cut.
Yep.
we're just listening. Okay, anything, Jillian, do you have anything for us? Teresa? We're good. John, are you good?
Yeah, all set.
Okay.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.